Welcome back to the Cozy Cottage Homestead. I want to show y'all the pumpkins. I planted them on July 3rd. My goal was to get them planted before July 4th. I've been extremely busy the last couple of days, but every day when I walked by I would look to see if the little seeds had popped up, and I didn't see anything for about 5 or 6 days. And then yesterday I walked by, and oh my goodness, all of the plants that I planted came up. It was literally like they got the rain and they just popped up overnight. And I planted 3 in each little hill. So I have 4 little hills right here in a flower bed up against the house. And would you know, every one of the seeds actually came up. Now I normally only plant a couple of hills, because these pumpkins, this is the 4th year that I planted the white pumpkins. Some know them as the Casper pumpkin seeds. So I planted them again. Last year we probably had 30 to 40 pumpkins, which was extremely a lot of pumpkins. The largest harvest that we had from just planting 4 little hills of pumpkins. They pretty much took over the whole entire backyard. But that was before I started doing YouTube videos, so I do have a few pictures of that. So I'm expecting the same results this year. And then we will put some up, and we have canned some for making pumpkin pies and such. And also the biggest reason why I grow them is to give them to my goats, because it is very good for the goats. It's also good for other animals on the homestead. It's very healthy and nutritious. And also, the other thing about the pumpkin is, it is the most complete nutritious one. Some people call them fruits, but it's actually a vegetable. It is actually one of those types of fruits or vegetable that is 100% complete in all the nutrition that you would need, that you can actually survive off of just eating pumpkins alone. So it's a very good one to have growing, and it's very easy to grow. So if you haven't thought about growing pumpkins yet, maybe it's something you would be interested in. And I hope to see pictures and some updates on the people that participated in the pumpkin seed giveaway. I hope you planted your pumpkins, and I hope they're doing good for you as well. And with all the rain that we've had, all the ginger is really doing wonderful. This is the white ginger. They have a very fragrant smell. It almost reminds me of jasmine, the scent. And after all these gingers die off in the fall, we will harvest all the ginger roots. So they have really taken off. The rain has really done really good for them. And they're planted in a spot where they're in part shade and part sun. And I had mentioned the turmeric, that it came in a little bit later than the rest of the root crops, or the tube crops, however you want to say it. It's the roots, like the ginger roots, and this is the turmeric. It did take it longer to start coming up, and you can see the way the shade is on the left side of the screen and the sun is on the right side of the screen. So where the sun is, it's a little less taller than the other side. This side is a lot taller, and it needs more shade. I don't know if y'all have done any research on the rays in the sun and the climate change, but the sun is definitely different. It's causing lots of problems for gardening and crops and plants and just the whole entire environment. There's lots of droughts going on right now. But I'm not here to preach to the choir or beat a dead horse. If you're interested in finding out about what's going on with our climate and the climate change and the grand solar minimum, and all the sunspots are changed and the rays have changed in the sun, just Google it. You'll find out all the information you possibly could want. But it definitely is having an effect on the growing season. But this is the turmeric. It will keep growing back every year. Same thing as the ginger. Whenever the foliage dies off in the fall, we'll dig up the ginger, the ginger and the turmeric, and then we dry it out and we grind it or slice it and enjoy it in teas and cook with the spices and stuff like that. So it's a very good one to have on the homestead as well, and also a lot of medicinal uses and purposes with the turmeric, which just makes it wonderful for us because we like to add it to our herbal teas during the winter. We don't drink as many herbal teas during the summer unless we make it into a cold tea because it's just too hot to drink hot tea. But my dad would say it's never too hot to drink coffee. Yes, he was a hot mess. So we replanted the potato beds, or the potato tubs, whatever I was calling them, with sweet potatoes. So we'd have a fall crop of sweet potatoes just to see how they would do in these little beds. And so far, all of the plants that I replanted are doing wonderful. And I also have a potato raised bed for sweet potatoes. It's already been replanted. This is the elephant ears. You can see the brown on the edges of the leaves. That is from the intense heat and the rays being different. This is all of the elephant ears. And then over here we have a whole bunch more ginger. Just a little, looks like a little forest of ginger right here. Really grows good here. And then right here we have some more sweet potatoes just to try them to see how they do in a little bed. So far they're all doing quite well. The hosta is planted in the shade between two pear trees. And I have a bench right here that my father bought me many years ago. But the hosta likes it in the shade. It does like sun. The sun has been rough on everything this year, but the hosta seems to still be doing pretty good. The tomato plants have just about finished doing their thing. There's only a few tomatoes left on here for them to get ripened. This is the larger tub that has the sweet potatoes in it that we had grown the regular potatoes in it, and you can tell they really love these beds pretty good. The sweet potatoes is running all over the place. I had done a video on how to start sweet potatoes, so if you haven't checked that out, maybe go back and look through the playlist and see if you could find it. It's almost too late to plant sweet potatoes again here in the South, but you do still have time. I would say up until maybe August, so that you give it enough time so that you have time to harvest your sweet potatoes before the first frost or freeze would be coming. So it's not exactly too late. You probably still could go ahead and plant some. And they seem to be doing pretty good. There are a few insects that's getting on everything, and that's another thing. The insects seem to be extremely horrible this year. I guess with all the heat and the mild winters, the insects are just having a blast on all of our plants. The salmon colored rose bush is doing very well. It's a climbing rose bush. The rain has really boosted. There are so many more buds and blooms. Very pretty rose bush. So there are still some things that can grow in the intense heat. Not all edible, although roses are edible. You can actually make tinctures and rose water and jams and jellies with roses, and you can also dehydrate the petals and use them in herbal teas. So yes, they're one of the things that's beautiful but yet very beneficial and useful on the homestead. It's not always about growing everything that's edible, but also you need to beautify your homestead and enjoy all of the beauty that God has given us to enjoy. Right here we have a nice little run of lemongrass. Separated all of my lemongrass and made a row of lemongrass. So this will be sort of like a driveway edge. And they will get wider and they can grow thick as they want here. When we harvest the lemongrass for herbal teas and to cook Japanese and Chinese type dishes. And my husband's over there cutting grass, or more like bush hogging. One of the homestead chores that has to be done. which is very enjoyable. I know there are lots of older people that used to cut grass and bush hog that might would enjoy some of this footage. And yes, I'm standing a good bit away from where he is. I had the camera zoomed in to be safe. But I know there's lots of older people that used to bush hog and run tractors and probably missed the days gone by when they were able to cut grass with a tractor and bush hog and work in the yard. So I thought I'd go ahead and catch some of this, even though it's a bit noisy, so that they could enjoy remembering some of the good times when they used to enjoy bush hogging and cutting grass. I find cutting grass very enjoyable and very relaxing. Some people think it's just a bitter chore, but I think it's actually quite peaceful and quite enjoyable. Just gives you time with nature and you're in your thoughts. It's just such an enjoyable thing whenever you take the time to just think about life and maybe think about the way things used to be. And if your grandparents bush hogged and cut grass with the tractor, it's kind of bittersweet. I already have seen several older people pass away and move on to heaven. Listening to them talk and hearing their stories about the things that they used to could do, and then eventually they just could not do the things that they used to could do. So it's kind of bittersweet. So I think it's good to record stuff like this, so whenever the day comes that maybe we aren't able to operate a tractor no more either, we can look back on these videos and remember all the wonderful things that we did here on the homestead. There's a couple of pecan trees out there. As I mentioned before, this whole place is planted with pecan trees. We purposely have let the borders grow up so it would be more secluded and more private. And now with the world getting like it is, I wouldn't have it any other way. Kind of hard to see what part of the grass in the field has been cut and what part isn't because of the sun. It's so bright. I'm standing here in the shade, pretty far away, have it zoomed in. We just have a small little tractor. I think it's got a 4-foot bush hog on it. We had a larger tractor. We had some problems with it and had some problems ordering parts for it. Just can't seem to find the parts to fix it, and it's a John Deere tractor. It's a big tractor. So we went with the smaller, more economical tractor here on the homestead, and it does the job quite well. And even though it's 96 to 98 degrees today and the heat index is like 110 to 115, we try to cut the grass where the shaded areas are first and let the sunny spots get shaded in the afternoon so that we're not in the direct heat constantly trying to cut the grass. And then with all the lovely rain that we've had, it seems to make the grass grow a whole lot faster. So we try to keep the grass cut and keep up with everything. Sometimes it's a challenge, but we still have to go against all the odds and deal with the weather and try to beat the heat to still get the chores around the homestead done. So farewell, Homestead family, friends, and neighbors, and thanks for joining us today, and thanks for subscribing and liking and leaving a friendly comment. It really does help the channel grow. And yes, YouTube suggests that we add that little tad bit to all of our videos. So, farewell, and thanks for joining me today at the Cozy Cottage Homestead.